Stevie J here from Glove Up or Shut Up, Wrestling Observer, MMA Odds Breaker, and of course AngryMarks.com. I've got your post-UFC and Macao results and notes. First and foremost, here's what Dana White had to say at the post-fight press conference. Quote, "We do not disclose the gate here because the Venetian owns the gate, not us. So it was a sold show, which also means we don't get an attendance number. That's not going to matter in the long run anyway, so let's just get to the performance bonuses." He gave out 4 of them. They went to Michael Bisping, Tyron Woodley, Yuta Sasaki, and Alberto Mina, $50,000 each. Quote, "Dana, I didn't do a fight of the night, just performance bonuses." So $200,000 total went to 4 different fighters. Now as for the show itself, this was a little strange in that we'd have a span of lackluster or mediocre fights, then we'd have a few really great fights, then we'd have some lackluster ones, including one I never ever want to see again, and then we would have great fights at the end. And this wasn't evenly distributed between the main card and the prelims. It overlapped those two, and you'll see what I mean once we go through these results. But it starts with Milana Dudieva versus Elizabeth Phillips, the first of 2 really, I don't know if they were bad decisions, but wacky decisions. This one was 30-27, 28-29, and 29-28, going to Dudieva by split decision. So those 3 judges watched 3 different fights. There's no way you could come up with those 3 scores under any rational set of circumstances. I thought there was a chance that Elizabeth Phillips was going to get the nod here. I also thought it was one of those kind of fights where you were going to have a split decision. And the same thing happened with Royston and Zhikui. I can't remember how you pronounce the guy's name. I'm sorry. But Royston ended up getting the nod here, even though in the 3rd round, Zhikui really took him apart. And I thought that at least one of those other rounds was close, and maybe with the dominant performance in the 3rd round, he would end up taking it. But once again, split decision. The 3 judges were watching 3 totally different fights. 29-28, 27-30, and 29-28. That's a little better. At least 2 of the judges saw it the same way. Moving on, though, this is where things got good for a while. Colby Covington just blitzed Guangyou, beat him up to the point that it was stopped with 10 seconds left to go in the 1st round. I guess every fighter got the never leave it to the judges message from the first 2 fights because things stayed hot for a while. Yuta Sasaki, one of the guys who got the performance bonus, beat Roland Delorme with a rear naked choke in 66 seconds. This fight was over so fast that I was recapping it for the Wrestling Observer. You can check out that live report on the homepage of WrestlingObserver.com. Barely had time to say anything about this fight before Sasaki finished him off, so very strong, dominant performance. And apparently when somebody got a quote from Roland Delorme afterwards, he said, "I feel like a man who just lost his job." Ouch. I hope he wasn't right about that. That's an ominous prediction to make after you lose a fight, but he did lose in a very one-sided, very dominated fashion. Alberto Mina beat Shinsho Anzai in the 1st round, TKO 4-17. And this wasn't a one-sided domination. This was 2 guys that just said, screw it, let's stand here and punch the crap out of each other like Rock'em Sock'em Robots until somebody's head pops up. And Mina was the one who got the better of that. So it was a fun 4 minutes and 17 seconds. It wasn't a great technical fight. It was probably pretty sloppy as far as striking goes. But man, it was fun to watch. The main event of the prelims was Wang Sai and Danny Mitchell. I guess not a terrible fight, but not a great fight either. 29-28 across the board for Sai. The judges finally got their shit together. So then we have the fight that I just urge you not to watch. It was terrible. This was the Tough China finale between Ning and Yang Jianping. And the right guy won. On the scorecards, there's Guangyou getting it 29-28 across the board, which I agree with after watching that fight. Thought he was okay in every round except for the 3rd round when Jianping tried to make a comeback. But at the same time, that comeback wasn't much of a comeback because these two guys circled each other a lot and pitter-pattered around, throwing little strikes, and nobody really engaged, and the crowd could sense it, and they were booing unmercifully in each round. It took anywhere from 30 seconds to a couple of minutes, but they would just boo and boo. And you know that when they have cards overseas, the crowds are usually very respectful and very forgiving, but these people at the Cotai Arena at the Venetian were just not having it, and they had every reason to. Don't watch this fight. If you're watching Fight Pass on demand, skip over this one. Zhang Lipeng and Brendan O'Reilly was decent. 29, 28, 30, 27 times 2. Really nothing to write home about. In the co-main event, things got really hot again. Tyron Woodley just blitzed through the stun gun Dong Yun Kim. It took him 1 minute and 1 second to get the TKO. And T-Wood looked really good here. Main event, it took 4 rounds, but Michael Bisping was ultimately able to overwhelm Cung Lee just by being the better striker standing. But at the same time, Cung Lee's getting up there in age. He's in his 40s. Now, don't get me wrong, he was in great physical shape. The cardio wasn't really an issue. He obviously had enough in the tank to go 4 rounds. But the problem is that Bisping is a very accurate striker when he's on his A game, and he was just pounding on Lee to the point where he had a cut under one eye and it was swelling up. The other eye was swelling shut. Once in a while, Cung Lee would land a really nice shot. He'd land like a right hook or an uppercut, but it would just be one strike. Whereas Bisping, he would unload. He would get like 3 or 4 in a row. He would combo up, and if he ate one shot from Lee in the process, it didn't knock him down or knock him out. A couple of them rang his bell a little bit, but nothing Lee did was able to match the volume of what Bisping did. And in this case, the amount made a difference, because by the 4th round, his face was a mess, and then Bisping got him against the fence and just poured it on. A knee is what really did it. He threw a left knee that landed right on the chin and knocked him backward, and by the time that John Sharp could get in there to save Lee, he had answered with a couple of more strikes on the ground that may have been unnecessary, but you got to keep going until the ref gets there, and that's what Bisping did. So Bisping gets a big win, and he immediately calls out Luke Rockhold, saying, "This guy's been talking a lot of crap about me. He thinks he's so great. I'll take him apart, and after I'm done with him, I'm going to take the middleweight title." So at least he's got a game plan.